The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty and another video discussing the Constitution. In this video, we'll actually be discussing the Ninth and 10th Amendment. I think these amendments are just as fairly important as the First and Second Amendment. I mean, all amendments are important and all Bill of Rights are important. But as the Second Amendment is so our freedoms won't be taken away, these amendments here tells us about the rights and the powers that we have, um, mainly the ones that are not discussed in the Constitution given to the federal government. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Ninth and 10th Amendment. The Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now you ask, what does the Ninth Amendment mean? Well, pretty much it means that um, there are rights that we have that are not listed in the Constitution. Just because there's specific rights in the Constitution doesn't mean those are our only rights. And we have rights that are not listed that the government cannot take away. And the 10th Amendment is stating that any powers not given to the federal government is reserved to the states or to the people. And this is why I think that these two amendments are fairly important. Um, Mainly because it's telling the government that just because it's the federal government doesn't mean it has all the power in the world. And I've been advocating this and been saying that the federal government does not have the right to institute a vaccine mandate because it was not given to them by the states or by the people, and that we have rights, medical rights, other rights. As the Ninth Amendment states, that the government, just because it's not written down, can't say we can't, that we don't have, and that they can take it away. Everybody always assumed that the Constitution, they always get the Constitution Declaration mixed up because people say, oh, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if that's truly the case, if you believe everything written down in the Constitution and our rights, we only have rights that are written down in the Constitution, then we do not have the right to life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness. Um, in the Constitution, I did a search of it, and only thing it says about liberty is secured the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, and that's in the preamble. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything about the pursuit of happiness. And the only mention of life in the Constitution is when it's talking about treason in Article 3, Section 3. So I doubt they're talking about the same kind of life, considering that they were talking about treason. But now people want to argue, well, you're just trying to make things up. No, I'm not making this up. This is in the Constitution. But they never focus. Even when I was in school, yeah, we went through all 10 amendments, but the main ones I was always focused on was always the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, um, the Fourth Amendment, right, search warrant for seizures and stuff. Never was it focused on about we have unwritten rights and the fact that we have powers. If it's not for the federal government, it's to the states and the people. Those are never mentioned because the reason if you have to mention that, like I said in a previous video, and you have to rule on that. There's only one possible one legal outcome. I mean, the Supreme Court, depending on who's on there, can interpret it any way they want, and they could twist it for their own political gain or their own twisted version of the Constitution, and not what the founding fathers meant. But like I said, the 10th Amendment goes hand with the Declaration, as the Ninth Amendment goes hand with the Declaration. This is what the Declaration of Independence says. Endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, in other words, it's saying that there is rights that are not written down. And three of them were life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which will make sense with the Ninth Amendment, saying that we have rights that are not written in the Constitution that the government cannot restrict. Again, cannot restrict. It's like that preamble of the Bill of Rights, where it says that the restrictions are on the government, not on the people. And the same thing goes with the 10th Amendment, as I'll read another expert from the section of the Declaration of Independence. That to secure these rights, government are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So, in other words, the people gave the government the power and consent to govern over them, which means the powers are reserved originally to the people. Um, and like I said, the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights go hand in hand with a lot of stuff that they were framing. If you read the Founding Fathers, the Federalist Papers, Anti-Federalist Papers, the journals of the Founding Fathers, you'll find out that the wording was deliberate. It wasn't just, oh, let's think of a few uh, phrases and pop them in and go from there. No, the wording was very deliberate for the future generations. But yet, the government, especially left wing, does not want us to know the Constitution. They want to say, oh, it means something completely different. No, it does not. You want it to mean something different so you can impose your tyranny like King George did, or Adolf Hitler, or Joseph Stalin, or Mussolini. Um, and that's not going to fly here in America because there's people like me and other patriots who will remind people like you what the Constitution actually says and what it means, and not what you want it to mean. Um, with the Second Amendment, with the wording and the phrases, I pretty much destroyed the left wing's ability to say, oh, it's about the military. Because then, if they're saying if the right of the people's military, that means only the military gets to do free speech, and only the military is exempt from unlawful search and seizures and where they need warrants, and not the citizens. Same thing with here. Unwritten rights for the people, powers not reserved, delegated to the federal government, is reserved to the states and to the people. So yes, whether you want to admit that or not. Um, that's why I'm doing these subsections, not just discussing the whole Bill of Rights, but breaking them down in different amendments. So everybody has a clear understanding what these amendments mean and how they work in our society. So the next time you say, well, technically you don't have a right to choose whether you want a vaccine or not. Oh, yes, we do. Uh, it was never given to the federal government to make a choice of, and the people never gave it to the state government to make the choice of, technically. And each state also has its own state constitution that I encourage you to read because you might find interesting things in there that the state government has been doing wrong about. So, not just everybody always, when they say constitution, they always want to think of the United States Constitution, but each state has its own constitution as well. And sometimes the state is going against their own constitution, not just the United States Constitution. And that's just the way my opinion is and how I see it. What's your opinion on the subject? You can comment in here. And like I say, I always encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. The more the merrier. And if you have any topics you want us to discuss, Brothers of Liberty 76 at gmail.com. We'll love to hear from you. And once again, this is the older brother of Liberty, reminding you what true freedom is and ought to be.